What's up, you guys? This is Devin with CenturyFX Studios, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about how to get a faster workflow with the R5. And these are some small things you can do to get a faster workflow with your Canon Eos-R5, because a lot of people think that just because you have this camera with 45 megapixels and 8K and 4K HQ and 4K 120 HQ that it's going to slow down your workflow. And yes, there is a big chance that it will slow down your workflow if you do not know these little things that could help you speed up your workflow. So let's get into about 5 things here on my list that will help you guys speed up your workflow. And let's get into this episode of the R5 Chronicles once again. The first thing you need to do is download your latest editor. So if you're using Final Cut or Premiere Pro, download the latest version, because I know for a fact with PC users and you're using Adobe Premiere Pro, it has gotten a lot better. A lot of things are a lot faster. Like, update your program, because Premiere Pro really works well with this. I know that I think Mac was already a little bit faster than the Windows equivalents, but update your program, your editor, and it will help out your footage, especially right now, because Adobe made a whole bunch of different changes. All right, so for my next one, I want you to consider compressed RAW. I know a lot of people love to shoot full-on RAW, and they want as much dynamic range from that camera as they possibly can get, but consider compressed RAW, because I've been shooting my weddings with compressed RAW, and I've been getting a lot more life out of my cards as far as how much memory I'm taking in and how much, how many pictures I can shoot, especially when I'm shooting 20 frames a second. 20 frames a second full RAW is a monster. And it's going to be a monster on your card, and it's going to be a monster on your camera, especially if you're shooting with dual card slots and you're shooting to both cards at the same time. It's going to be a monster on that camera, so you really, really want to consider that compressed RAW. And if you haven't, you need to go ahead and update your camera. Update your camera so you can get the compressed RAW formats and compressed video formats, so you can save a lot more memory and get a lot more done without having to worry about your camera having these issues. I don't know if these compressed formats help the overheating, but that's something definitely to test. I don't know if anybody's tested it yet, but I should probably be testing these things. All right, the next on the list is rate your camera's images in camera. This really helped my workflow. Like, guys, this really helped my workflow. Now, I was coming from the 5D Mark II, like going to the R5 and rating your images, like seeing exactly what you want and rating it in cameras first. The camera's designed to actually flip through these images as fast as possible. Like, your computer pretty much is never going to flip through the images as fast as your camera can. So while you got your cameras, your images in camera, go ahead and hit that rate button. Bang, bang, bang. Eventually, 1,000 images won't take that long at all, because you have a little scrolly wheel, and it's amazing, especially if you're using the R5. Now, I think the R6 may be a little bit different on its ergonomics, and it's, it may not have a rate button up there, but the R5 does, and it has a little voice memo. I've never used a voice memo, but if I have a project that's, that's heavy, I'm probably going to have to use it. For something that's really particular, like I'm doing a billboard or something like that, I'm going to need that a rate button and that memo functionality, and it really, really does help. So if all you're doing is just dumping all your images straight onto the editor, and you're not rating them and then sorting them by which ones you rate, you're missing out. It can easily speed up your workflow like 50%. It's crazy. It's good. All right. Enable lens corrections on your camera. Now, the reason why I say this is because back in the day, lens corrections really didn't matter as much on the 5D Mark II and all these older cameras, because they really didn't have a big database, or if anything, it didn't really sense that many lenses. Even when I have the EOS RF adapter on here and I'm using an adaptive EF lens, an adaptive one, it still picks up the Sigma Art lens 24 to 72.8, and it automatically does in-camera corrections, so you don't have to do them in post. So if you're particular about your images, making sure that you don't have chromatic aberration and any kind of distortion, or you want to clear up as much distortion and chromatic aberration as you possibly can, let the camera go ahead and do that for you and let it line up everything, because by the time you throw it back in Lightroom is actually now auto-detecting whether or not I have lens corrections in camera on, and it then translates it to Lightroom. So now it's done by the time it gets to Lightroom, and it's like, oh, Lightroom has sensed now that your camera has done all this stuff, and now Lightroom is now, like I said, everything is rated. So I'm rated. All my lens corrections are pretty much done, except for, you know, making sure everything horizon is done. But if I want to do some extra lens, you know, de-warping and, you know, anything like that with distortion, I can do that, but it's already taken an extra step to make sure that you've gotten it done in camera. So that makes a huge difference. And the last thing I want to talk about is that double click to focus. That double click to focus works really well. I didn't even know this was a thing until my friend told me. My friend was like, Devin, all you got to do is double click. Well, he just double clicked the screen and he just used it like a cell phone. I'm like, why didn't I think about this? And I don't really read the manuals like that. And I never really thought about double clicking the screen to check focus on the eyes. All they're doing now is double clicking the screen, checking focus on the eyes, and doing a little bit of pinching if you even need to do that much. If you're doing headshots, all you gotta do is double click on the eye and make sure it's in focus. You don't have to hit a button here like the 60. Oh my goodness, the 60. The Canon 60, you gotta hit a button and then hold this button and then crank the little knob, whatever. No, on the R5, you can do both. Actually, on the R5, you can actually hit the magnifying glass and then scroll in a little bit more depending on what situation you're in, or you can actually hit the screen, double tap, just like a cell phone. It's that simple to check focus, guys. It is so much easier to your workflow, because one of the biggest reasons why I got this camera is because I want to use my fast lenses to their best, and I want to have all my eyes in focus at 1.8, 1.2, you know, 2.0, 2.8. You see what I'm saying? So that faster light quality or that faster shutter speed can equate to better images at any given moment, and that gives you value to your lenses, and it gives you overall value to your pictures. Because think about it, if you have a really, really good camera and you have a really, really even better lens on there, but the camera can't nail focus, then you just lost an image. That's even worse than having a camera that has slightly worse image quality, that has the functionality of getting the image in focus, because you have a keeper image with just a little bit more noise in comparison to a camera that lost focus because it doesn't have the capability that this camera does. And being able to double check and double click that, double tap that screen to check focus is amazing. I'm Devin with CenturyFX Studios. These are my fast workflow things about pictures specifically. It's not about video, but if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments below, and stay tuned for the next video.